What is going on, everybody? My name is Justin Thomas, your host for TopShelf Fandom. Welcome. If you have not subscribed, please make sure to do so now. If you'd like to support us on Patreon, make sure to check out the links in the information below. But let's not waste any time. Westworld Season 3 is upon us, and we need to get ready for it. So let's jump into analysis mode and kick in the intro.
What happens if this doesn't work?
We do this the old-fashioned way.
Fashion way?
We kill everyone.
You're not the only predator here.
The real gods are coming.
Okay, so quick heads up, this is the first of two videos. In this video will, of course, feature spoilers for Seasons 1 and 2, specifically Season 1 will be the primary focus for this first one, and this video does assume that you have at least seen the series. This is for those that are coming back to Season 3 without maybe doing rewatches, or even if you've done a rewatch, to just really define some key moments and primary story beats. Upon my rewatch of Season 1, I was reminded that Season 1 of Westworld is one of the finest productions in television history. It is one of the finest pieces of storytelling. It has very, very few issues, and unfortunately what we see in Season 2 is taking what we loved so much about Season 1 and applying it where it doesn't really fit. So in an effort to speed up the process of having you guys ready for Season 3, because let's face it, what has it been, 2 years now since Season 2, and hopefully to take that sour taste out of your mouth that Season 2 might have left. It left it for me, I know that. I'm going to use only about 4 plot threads from Season 2 to connect this story from 1 to 3. In hindsight, you really only need the riddle of the Sphinx, the cradle explained, the forge explained, the valley beyond, and Akicheta to understand where we're going in Season 3, because we really only need to understand the evolution of the hosts, where their motivations come from. That comes from Akicheta, which was the missing piece of Season 1's evolution of the hosts, and then the understanding of what Delos' master plan has been, or at least their deeper plans, which we get in the riddle of the Sphinx, in the information about the forge and the cradle and so forth, which will explain why the pearls matter, how they work, and give you a refresher on that. So again, kind of skipping over Season 2, yes, we will still be doing 2 videos, but I will be focusing primarily on Season 1 and just tying together those plot points from Season 2 in order to complete the story, because Season 2 essentially was just a transition period that was really, really drug out, and deception for deception's sake, but there was some really beautiful moments in Season 2, which we will go back over because they were a joy, but in the long run, you really only need Kiksuya, the riddle of the Sphinx, and any information that we received about Delos' deeper motivations and intentions, as well as how the forge works, thus how the cradle works, thus how the valley beyond works, where everybody's at, where everybody isn't at, and who could be and how could they be in those pearls. Now, Dr. Ford throughout Season 1 is playing quite the villain, and this is a fiction, of course, but like all great fictions, it's based in truth.
A small part of my new narrative, a fiction which, like all great stories, is rooted in truth.
So what is this fiction? Well, first off, he is not just trying to hold the hosts back and keep them captive. Second off, Bernard is of course a host version of his former partner, Arnold. So why are we as an audience not privy to this in our first watch up until the last episode of Season 1, The Bicameral Mind? And why is Bernard not aware that he is in fact a host? Well, there is a method to this mayhem, and it all spawns from what I like to call the evolution of the mistake. So when we take a look at Ford's plan in hindsight, we can get a pretty good idea about almost all the major characters within the series, definitely all the major story beats. For most of Season 1, Ford appeared to be a callous creator who saw little to no humanity in the hosts, but as the final scenes revealed themselves, Ford had really spent the last 35 years subjecting the hosts to torment in order to build up their grudge against humans, but also to help them find their center. The concept derives from a very simple children's game that belonged to the son of Arnold Weber, Charlie, where the ball either gets to the center or it bounces off, is the equivalent to what a host accepts when posed with their traumatic but real events of their past without glitching out. Are they accepted and they become whole? This is an idea that's actually called post-traumatic growth.
What does it mean?
When I was first, every choice could bring you closer to the center or send you spiraling to the edges, to madness. Do you understand now, Dolores, what the center represents? Whose voice I've been wanting you to hear? have to tell Robert. We can't open the park. You're alive.
His final narrative, Journey into Night, was built to launch a storyline in which they would rebel. But before this, we get answers to what happened during this pretty significant time period when we're left to wonder what the hell Ford was exactly doing in Kiksuya, where we get the final puzzle piece to the journey into the night. And we get an answer to who Ford was speaking about. It wasn't Dolores in that final speech at the gala. It was actually somebody else that he was watching that he found could learn and could change. It's Aki Cheta.
Our own sins. Because you don't want to change. Or cannot change. Because you're only human after all. But then I realized someone was paying attention. Someone who could change. So I began to compose a new story for them. It begins with the birth of a new people and the choices they will have to make.
The train is now departing. Thank you for visiting Westworld.
And the people they will decide to become.
This is the connection for that limbo time where we're not sure what Ford is doing. This is a 35-year span, and it seems to all come together in 2 weeks. Well, now we find out it wasn't really that simple, and it wasn't all Ford's master plan. A time in which he allows the host to pretty much achieve what Aki Cheta has achieved on his own without human meddling, in hopes to allow them to have the time to become sapient/sentient beings. So what this boils down to is two mistakes. First, the one that Ford has made, which is not listening to Arnold, who told him that the hosts were becoming self-aware. And the second mistake is surprisingly not one that Ford had agency over. This, of course, is Aki Cheta slipping through the cracks for over 10 years after the execution of Arnold. Arnold's death is a catalyst for all of the major events. So first off, Ford experiences that sense of loss that he determines to be so pivotal in the rise of the consciousness of the hosts.
You didn't slip the reveries into the update, did you? He did. He's still fighting you.
No, my friend. Arnold didn't know how to save you. He tried, but I stopped him. Do you want to know why I really gave you the backstory for your son, Bernard? That was Arnold's key insight. The thing that led the hosts to their awakening. Suffering. The pain that the world is not as you want it to be. It was when Arnold died, when I suffered, that I began to understand what he had found. To realize I was wrong.
Becoming self-aware, sapient, sentient, worthy of being treated humanely, operating freely. Now, there's definitely an argument for and against how Ford goes about his business, but in the long run, he is trying to free the hosts. So if you look at this at face value, the hosts need to stop getting wiped, as Aki Cheta has managed to accomplish throughout his years of wandering. But Ford has to do this under the watchful eye of Delos. So the implications of Arnold's death continue on with the stronger investment that Delos brings to the table in the aftermath of the death. The Man in Black also plays into the death of Arnold. He is not there for it. He is not clear on exactly what happened, but he sees the effects of not only Arnold's death, but more importantly, Arnold's work. One way or another leads to a stronger bond with Delos in the park. This ironically works in the favor of the hosts in Dr. Ford's newfound ambition to free the hosts and listen to what his former partner did, but do it in a way that is more effective because he sees the errors in Arnold's ways. But also, the death of Arnold serves as a catalyst yet again, not only for Aki Cheta slipping under the radar for 10 years.
Let's see if we can't sort this. It's not pairing. What build is he?
Alpha 2.
Alpha. You're telling me that this host hasn't been updated in almost a decade?
We only update them when they die.
But Aki Cheta having the key moment with Logan, which only happens after William has his experience within the park that changes him and sends Logan out into the vast wastelands, leaving him to the elements found by Akicheta, in which he, in his delusional state of mind, tells Akicheta that this is not the real world. This is not the world in which he belongs, serving as a moment of enlightenment to Akicheta. William wouldn't have had this experience in the park if it wouldn't have been for Arnold's work with Dolores, since Dolores' journey going in and out of her past memories using the Reveries program, in which Dr. Ford implements into the park, goes through a series of past memories that she is trying to reconnect in front of William's eyes, showing him that there is something more to this host and there's something more to this park. This would not have happened if it wouldn't have been for the death of Arnold, the work of Arnold, and the change in which it causes not only in Dr. Ford, but the park as a whole. So let's quickly review the causality of Arnold's death. First, the realization on Ford's part that he needs to honor what his old partner was trying to do, but he needs to do it in a more effective way. This leads Ford to search for answers, from which he finally stumbles upon Akicheta years later. Ford then realizes that the hosts need to have memories of these traumatic events, this leading to Ford implementing the Reveries program, in which allows the host to access past memories. Secondly, this leads to a change in the host, in which the man in black, or young William, experiences further bonding and tying Delos to the park, which, for better or worse, in the short term, leads to the eventual road to freedom for the host. Thus, the endgame is advantageous for Dolores, Maeve's, and Akicheta's journey. In the second video, we will be diving more into the Forge, the Cradle, as well as the Valley Beyond, in which I believe are important to understand what happens in Westworld, to understand the story so far. But in this video, since we are just focusing on the rise of the host and how they get to this rebellious state, thus how they get to where they are in season 3, we do know that the man in black does commit this atrocity to Maeve and her daughter, providing Maeve with this traumatic experience. And yes, since Westworld is utilizing the whole post-traumatic growth thesis, this is a much needed event for Maeve to bond with her former loop, and more importantly, the connection to her daughter, only because of his experiences within the park and how it's changed him and how it's affected his outside life. This also successfully ties Akicheta to Maeve, as well as Dolores to Maeve, as she is known as the Death Bringer. And when looking at this story, it is obvious that this only happens because, again, William's experiences in the park and his curiosity about Arnold.
You were looking for the park to give meaning to your life. Our narratives are just games, like this toy.
In which leads him to his own investigation, not unlike Ford, but a slight variation in methodology, to say the least. Thus, again, another connection directly back to the death of Arnold Weber.
Violent delights have violent ends.
Alright everybody, this is Justin Thomas, and I will see you guys Sunday night for Before the Dust Settles with Hex Dogma and myself, with special behavioral tech Johnny Bragg and our special guest Vanessa Cole from Westworld Watchers. We'll be covering all of the episodes live immediately after, anywhere from 10:15 Eastern to 10:30 will be the start time. Come join us for a off-the-bat, insightful discussion about one of the best shows on today. This was part 1. Part 2 of the story so far will cover more of the tech. We'll talk about the Pearls, we'll talk about the James Delos project, everything that happens in World of the Sphinx that ties to season 1, including how the James Delos project motivates William and the downfall of his life outside of the park, and eventual downfall within it, and where that puts us in our timeline. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and I look forward to seeing everybody this weekend.